It's 5 o'clock in Pirate Country, and it's time to get pumped up with the P-Man. Hit the door and hit the road. 94.3 The Game is going to get you home, and the P-Man's not holding back.
Yes! Yes! Pirates win! Pirates win!
Bring on the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Holy mackerel! Oh, my goodness!
The flagship station of the ECU Pirates.
All right, big day on the show. Welcome in. We got the Logan Zone coming up at 5 o'clock. We're leading you in here on the PJ Show. We were on earlier this morning on Talk of the Town, which I am every week, but I was hosting. And we not only have me on in the morning this day and tomorrow, but we had Philip the Ref Pilkington. Long day for Pilk. You're getting to find out what it's all about, Pilk. You want to be a radio star.
Hey,
Here you go.
At least I'm finding out on the bye week, right? So, like, I get Saturday off.
Yes.
I haven't been to a press
true.
conference all week because, and I understand, and right now, media day is going for basketball, but because I'm here, we've got Dom and William over there. Did go to football practice yesterday, but, no press conference, no pregame show to prep for. So, it's a long day, but it could be worse. So, I can't complain too much.
Well, look, and why complain? Like yesterday, I had to go. I'm down at the Working Man's Beach, Surf City. I went down to Wilmington for a little run. I had to go do some things. Went to one place. What I was looking to buy there, it's now been discontinued. I won't say what it was. Cigar, but that's okay.
It's been discontinued. What is it from? Country that they don't want to buy stuff from?
I don't know. It's not one of my regular haunts. The regular guy that's in there when I have been in wasn't in there. I couldn't really get into the specifics. I was on the phone with Sonny, which I know is bad form when you're in a place. The guy wasn't very helpful. Anyway.
Hey, I know somebody, though, that may or may not work here or own the place that is kind of a connoisseur that maybe you could talk to, and maybe he could give you somebody who can get you some good. He can point you in the right direction.
Well, no, I got places to go in Greenville and beyond. It's just, they're not around the corner here, let's just say. So I made the trek to Wilmy World, and I had other things to do. So it was just one of those things. All right, I'm going to do the loop. I ate at a place I had not eaten at in a long time. They had this great protein bowl with vegetables in it, so I had a great lunch. I was so full. And then I stopped at a place where I had left my sunglasses about a month ago. And they're prescription sunglasses, so I can read when I have sunglasses on. And because I'm old. And you know what happened, Pilk? They didn't have them in the Lost and Found after I called. The same day I realized I left them, they said, they're in Lost and Found. We're going to hold on to them. And the snotty manager would not go back and look again after I explained what it. So these aren't just sunglasses, it's a case. I want back there. Should I return and go back there and look at their Lost and Found? I don't think the guy looked.
I don't think he did.
He had a bow tie on. I don't think he was interested in looking.
No, doesn't sound like it. He's wearing a bow tie randomly? Like, I feel like bow ties, certain occasions, bow ties are cool, but he just randomly wears a bow tie.
And this was not the type of establishment that you would find somebody wearing a bow tie in.
Okay. So it wasn't the place that Henry Hinton's probably dining when he's in New York kind of thing?
No, nothing like that.
Yeah, what a goof then. He's wearing a bow tie out of nowhere.
Right.
Goof.
In a beach town, you're wearing a bow tie.
Yeah.
Bow tie also. I don't think he checked. I think he pretended that he checked. A mini edition, because this is a story. Does the P-Man care? I'm going to let you set up the story really quick. By the way, Will Bland's going to be with us. It is Rose and Conley tomorrow here in Greenville at Percy Daniels Stadium. The Minges Farley Athletic Complex will have the game for you on Oldies 102.7 tomorrow at the 7 o'clock kickoff between Rose and Conley. And John Feinstein coming up. He's got a new book out about Duke basketball and their national championships, and I'm very excited about talking to John about that as we welcome him back to the show. What do we got, Pilk?
All right, does the P-Man care? I can tell you, everybody, the P-Man's going to care because it's about his boy, Le Beijing. He tweeted yesterday, can someone please explain to me why we're getting on a plane and heading to Milwaukee for one preseason game? Exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point, question mark.
So I'm assuming the Lakers are playing the Bucks in a preseason game is what's going on.
Sounds like it to me.
Okay, number one, it's the preseason. So why would he even go? Because how many years is he now in the NBA? LeBron James. We call him LeBeijing because he's a Chinese sellout.
I think he got drafted in 03, I think.
So he's been. This would be his 21st or 22nd NBA season, correct?
Yeah, something like that.
Why doesn't he just? I mean, he'll sit out games during the season. Why not just sit out in the preseason? Why does he need to be a part of the pre? I guess because now little Bronny's on the team.
I guess so.
He wants to be a dad.
Look, if he was an MLB player, complain, because MLB has always done spring training, and you just hop on little buses. But in the NFL,
you're
the NHL, and the NBA,
you're in the same
exactly.
state.
That's my point. So if the Yankees were playing the Diamondbacks and they had to fly from Florida to Arizona for a preseason game, Yankees players would have every right to be complaining because they should just play in the same state against other teams in the Grapefruit League. They shouldn't play Cactus League teams. Well, the NBA, the NHL, and the NFL have always done this. You play like 6 preseason games in the NBA, 3 at home, 3 on the road, and home away, home away, home away.
He doesn't want to go to Milwaukee.
Yeah, he likes to cry about anything. He wonders why people don't respect him anymore. He cries about, dude, you have $1 billion Nike contract. You have to get on a plane to fly to Milwaukee. Cry me a river, okay?
Yeah,
I wish I could play pro basketball until I was 40.
They're not exactly flying commercial.
You
tried to fly lately?
Yeah.
Whoever said getting there is half the fun has not been anywhere in a while.
I know. I used to like flying. Ever since COVID, flying's not as fun anymore. I used to like
pain in the neck.
Yeah.
All right, we're shifting gears from the spoiled brat to the essence of sport, college, high school football. Of course, they're letting NIL go through on that now. There's something else. So we'll talk to Will Bland, head coach of the J.H. Rose Rampants, when we come back after this timeout, and preview tomorrow's game against Conley. And then later in the hour, John Feinstein will be on the show. Logan Zone coming up at 5. It's the Patrick Johnson Show here on 94.3 The Game and the IBX Media app.
We are
Riding shotgun with you on the drive home.
It's go time.
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
All right. We've got Will Bland joining us here on the PJ Show. Will, of course, is the J.H. Rose head coach, former ECU Pirate player, also Havelock Ram player at one time. And we've got the Crosstown Throwdown tomorrow. Tomorrow between the Rose Rampants and the Conley Vikings. You can listen to that on our sister station, 102.7 in Greenville. Oldies 102.7. Croft Massey and the legendary Ronald Vincent, RV, will be on the call. The game will kick at 7. When do they go on, Pilk? About quarter? Are they a quarter till airtime or a 10 till airtime?
Yeah, they're quarter till.
Rose. Quarter till. So 6:45, they'll be on the air on Oldies 102.7. Tomorrow night. Pilk, of course, will be on 94.3 The Game right here tomorrow for Washington football. So Pilk is 1-0 as the broadcaster of the Pam Pack. So they'll want you back, Pilk. They're undefeated with you behind the mic.
They're 1-0 with me as play-by-play and 1-0 with me as the color commentator. So I'm 2-0 altogether, baby.
They might have you do both then, if that's the case. All right, no need to dilly-dally any longer. We don't want to take up this man's time on silliness. He is Will Bland joining us here on the program. Coach, great to talk to you. How are things going here in the preps for Conley this week?
It's going pretty good. The kids have been going out the last 3 days and been focused, been doing what they're supposed to do at aspect as the X's and the O's and line up what you're supposed to. And I think they are ready for the game that we got coming up. And, it's a very important game. Not only is it a rivalry game, but it's got implications in the conference also. So, we can go in here and then take care of business. And then I think we can get a victory and keep our little win streak going.
Tough start for your team. Challenging non-conference slate, and then you open up league play with Jacksonville, who's very good, might be the best team in the East this year, the Cardinals. And so you start off 0-5. You don't need me to remind you of that. But then you turn it around against what was then an undefeated South Central team who had really played well and had some good wins. So what do you feel like has turned it for you guys?
I would just think probably just the kids' will to keep coming, and that's what I'm so proud of the guy. You know, anybody can start off 0-5 and just fold to 10 and just packing in for the season. But these guys kept coming, kept getting up on Saturday morning, coming out there, doing their runs and stuff, and then just trying to figure out how we can get some wins. And I thought the taste of the first victory against South actually had helped them out, got them more motivated now to continue to win, and they played a great game last week against Northside Jacksonville. So I think we got momentum right now going our way. You know, that's as a coach, you want to challenge the guys, and I thought we challenged our guys with our non-conference slate that we have. We could have easily been 3-2 at one point, but you know, sometimes the chips don't fall the right way. So we ended up being 0-5, but you know they kept fighting, and right now just the spoils of them being committed and being determined to keep trying to go out there and show that we're not 0-5 team. We're actually pretty good.
Rose and Conley tomorrow night, and that game will be played at Percy Daniels Stadium. It's part of Hall of Fame weekend going on at Rose this weekend. They'll enshrine 6 new members into their Athletics Hall of Fame, including Cowboy Joe West going into the Hall of Fame, the former big league umpire and Rose quarterback who played at Elon. Willie Bland is with us, the coach of the Rose Rampants. Coach, let me ask you, you did mention it there, but I mean, you could have very easily have won any of your first 3 games. And, you know, you had 2 of them. They were all very close, 2 of them on the road. So that's always a tough thing to do. So I'm sure you were able to, as you say, the players stayed committed, but you were able to kind of have some things positively to hang your hat on through those first 3 weeks, despite the results not going how you wanted them to go.
Oh yeah, we're very positive. You know, we had a new quarterback this year that started for us, and Jimmy Martin, who has just shown his ability to grow within the offense. Since we knew it was going to be tough for him at first to try to make sure he learned all the things, but he has grown and he has understanding the offense, so he's continued to improve every game. I know if you look at stats, you see that he's got a couple of interceptions, but he can't take all the blame for them. So sometimes we put him in bad spots for him. But I thought as well our offensive line has been doing great. Our run game averages about close to 200 yards a game. And our receivers, they've been catching the ball. Jaden Lovett has been a very great surprise for us as his playmaking ability, as well as Quinn McCaffrey. When we do get him the ball, he's able to do things. Defensively, you know, we just got to keep improving. We're very young on our defense side of the ball. That shows sometimes some of the games as how we are able to get some stops and being able to stop the run. But, you know, they come with that blue-collar mentality, and hey, we might be smarter than a lot of teams, but we're going to be feisty. And I just love how the guys go out there and compete and at least give us the opportunity to have a chance to win.
Will Bland is the JH Rose head coach. He joins us here on the Patrick Johnson Show. It's Rose and Conley tomorrow night on 102.7 here in Greenville at 6:45. The airtime, 7 o'clock, the kick time as the Rampants host the Vikings. One of the players that had a really nice rushing night for you against South Central when you picked up your first win, he's averaging over 80 yards a game, is Tevin Council. Give us a little bit on the type of season he's had for you.
Oh, he does a good job. You know, he's one of the kids that played a lot last year behind Jameer Roach. He's a very shifty guy, very determined, you know. And the best thing is he's the kid that haven't had everything go right in his personal life, and yet he keeps coming out here, keep pushing himself, keep trying to be the best he can be. Great leader for us. Able to catch out of the backfield and run between the tackles. So we're very impressed with him, and I'm glad that he stuck around here for his senior year so he can get some of them accomplishments. And I do think he's going to break 1,000 yards this year. Just as long as he keeps trusting the process, we should be able to get him over 1,000 yards.
Coach Bland, a little bit about coaching in this rivalry game. I know you guys want to keep everything kind of level. Every game's important. It's not the opponent. You're really working on yourself, and you want to go 1-0 every week. I know all of that, that messaging that goes on, obviously. But, I mean, even for you as a coach, and I know you and your staff have great respect for Conley as they do for you and your staff. But when you look at this matchup It's got to be something that you, who's a very excited guy as is, are very excited to be participating in the game.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited. It's almost like when I played in the half lot. The half lot Newburgh rivalry is, hey, it doesn't matter how good you are, you can be real good. It's all about bragging rights, all about the county, all about, hey, for a whole year you get to stand up in front of somebody, hey, we beat them this year, or hey, we took a tough loss. So as far as that, I think it's something special here in this county. Two of the bigger schools going at each other. Each with a great tradition as far as wins and losses. Rose with their sixth state championship. Conley's been on the verge of making it to the third or fourth round. Some of them special seasons they had, great players. So, just being able to go out there and be the head man and be in that calling where everybody got all eyes on both head coaches. And, hey, what are they going to do? What are the adjustments are they going to do to make the beat them? Or, hey, they might not have a great season, but, when they play Rose, you throw the records out the way and you just go out here and you the best team at that particular time, the best coaches, staff, the best coaching strategy. That's the team that's going to find a way for victory. And then at the end of the day, we'll shake it up, we'll pray together, and then we'll try to work on next year, trying to see what the outcome of that be.
4 in a row for Rose in the series. What do you play for in this rivalry?
And I told the guys yesterday, some of the guys that have been with me since I started, they never lost to Colin. I told the guys, hey, as long as, hey, guys, we do what we've been trained to, been taught, you'll hopefully get a victory. And I told them, hey, we don't want to be the senior class that, hey, Colin finally broke through, and they broke through in your senior class. So I think the seniors are excited. They welcome this opportunity, and I think the underclass is behind them to try to keep this streak going and try to make sure we hold on to that belt and that trophy that we got.
So you got the belt, and there's a trophy. Where's the belt displayed? Does anybody get to keep the belt? How does the championship belt work?
Yeah. So the championship belt. So right now it's displayed in our trophy case in the school, but we'll take it out probably on Thursday, and it'll be on the sideline. And the winning team would get to have the opportunity to take it back to the school and display it at the school.
Hey, Coach Bland, what will be some of the keys for you tomorrow night against Conley?
The one of the most important keys at all Conley Rose game is just you got to be able to handle the atmospheres. You got to have the adversity. It's gonna be loud. It's gonna be packed. It's gonna be everybody there. South Seniors don't even have a game. They got a bye week, so we're gonna have some of their crowd there also. So we just got to be able to maintain composure out there, and then as far as offense, we got to be able to score. We got to be able to score when we get the opportunity to score. Make sure we don't have any mistakes, limited turnovers, and on defense, we got to get some stops. If we can get some stops and get the ball back to the offense, I think we'll be all right.
Will Bland with us, Coach. It's always great to catch up with you. Best of luck in making it a winning streak, 2 in a row, but I know you'd like to take it to 3 and 5-0, or 5 in a row, rather, over the Conley Vikings overall. Best of luck, and we look forward to the matchup. Good luck to you the rest of the way as well.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. I always enjoy being on your show.
It's great to have Coach Will Bland with us here in that game tomorrow night on 102.7. Oldies 102.7 coverage beginning at 6:45 with Croft Massey and RV, the legendary Ronald Vincent. We're taking a timeout, and when we come back here on the Patrick Johnson Show, best-selling author John Feinstein will join us. Logan Zone, top of the hour, but Feinstein when we return.
We have you covered with all the ECU news and beyond that you need for the drive home. The Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Always great to have John Feinstein with us here, best-selling author of many, many books. John on the phone with us here, and a brand-new book, 5 Banners Inside the Duke Basketball Dynasty. We welcome John Feinstein back to the program. John, thanks for being with us. I hope you're well.
I'm well, Patrick. Thanks. Hope you are too.
Doing great. I'm going through materials, basketball right around the corner, getting ready for the broadcast season for college hoops, but also your book kind of will be that entree into college basketball season starting up, and there's a lot of excitement, obviously, surrounding Duke this year with Cooper Flagg. But let's talk about this book, which I think is pretty fascinating. So let's go back. The origins of the book. Does it stem around that infamous Denny's restaurant toast of 41 years ago?
Yeah, that's certainly a big part of it. It's funny because whenever I talk to Mike Krzyzewski, it seems like that night comes up in some form. I years ago, when was it? 2010, actually. I was working on a book that was sort of a mini memoir about my first 10 books, and I was going back to people who I had written about in the past, and Mike was about to go past Dean Smith on the all-time wins list. And I called him and I said, look, you're going to play at UNC Greensboro next week, and you're going to pass Dean that night. And I'd like to come down and just, spend some of that day with you. And he said, yeah, sure, come on down. The bus will leave at 2:30 to go to Greensboro. Meet me in my office, and you can sit with me on the bus. We can talk then, and then we can talk in the locker room before the game because there'll be time. He said, great, and so drove down, and I had lunch with Bill Brill, who you remember, of course,
Yep.
Also a Duke graduate, and Mike Craig, who was then Krzyzewski's sort of right-hand man and fundraiser and things like that. And I had lunch with the two of them, and Mike Craig said to me, when are you going to talk to Coach K? And I said, well, on the bus going to Greensboro. And he said, you came all the way down here to talk to him on a cell phone? And I said, no, I came down here to talk to him from the next seat. And he started shaking his head and saying, no. Nobody rides that bus who's not part of the team except for Mickey, Mike's wife. He said, I don't even ride that bus. And I said, well, tell me what I misunderstood here. And I described what Mike had said. And he's shaking his head. And he said, I don't understand it. Why would he let you do that? He doesn't let anybody do that. And I looked at him and I said, because I was in the blanking Denny's.
Yeah, for those that don't know, following the loss in the '83 ACC tournament, Virginia just decimated Duke that
109-66.
And later that night, at the at 2 a.m, there was you and Coach K and others went to commiserate at Denny's, and it was somebody. Was it Johnny Moore?
No, it was Tom Mickle.
Okay,
Tom Mickle. Johnny Moore was there.
Okay.
Two Duke SIDs, and we sat down. It was pouring down rain, and we sat down, and they brought us water. And Tom Mickle held up his water glass, and he said, here's to forgetting tonight. And Krzyzewski said, here's to never blanking forgetting tonight. And he didn't. They won their next 16 games against Virginia. The next year was when they really turned it around and became the dynasty that Mike eventually built. And 8 years later, they won the national championship. And I walked on the court after the game, and I walked up to Mike with my hand out and said, congratulations, I'm so happy for you, whatever. And he pulled me in close and he said, we've come a long way from the blanket Denny's, haven't we? So he never forgot.
Yeah.
He never forgot. And, that great coaches tend to remember losses more than they remember wins. And I think that's a perfect example. I mean, that night, there were a lot of people who thought he was going to get fired. He was 38-47 after 3 years. And Tom Butters stood down all the Iron Dukes and all the people who wanted him fired and gave him a new contract the next year. And really the rest is history.
Best-selling author John Feinstein, the new book, 5 Banners Inside the Duke Basketball Dynasty. Now, this also coincides with the 100th anniversary of Duke as an institution. Is that how this sort of also came about?
That is exactly how this came about. I got a call from my agent who was friends with Dean Smith, who is the publisher of Duke University Press. I'm not making that up. And he said, Dean is interested in having you write a book on sports for their 100th anniversary celebration. And I said, well, what did he have in mind? He said he wants you to suggest something. So I thought about it, and I was there for all 5 championships. I knew Krzyzewski really dating back to when he was at Army, and I was there through those first 3 seasons that were such a nightmare. And I said, well, what about a book on the 5 championships? I covered them all. I know most of the players who were involved. I certainly know Mike. And Dean Smith liked the idea. And we went from there. And it was really, I got to say, Patrick, it was a very enjoyable experience. I'm a Duke grad. I'm not one of those guys who goes around, screaming that Duke got screwed when they lose a game, the way a lot of alums of other schools do. But Mike and I have been friends for a long time, and I am a grad, and I for some reason, Duke grads, Jay Billis, me, Brill, in the old days, there was kind of an unspoken rule that you weren't allowed to show your bias. We're biased, of course we are biased, but guys that, Mike Wilbon, my good friend, always calls Northwestern we on the air.
Right.
He calls all the Chicago teams we. Scott Van Pelt, who's also a friend, is blatant about his Maryland bias. And but I once had an argument with Scott because he went to a game, a Duke Maryland game, as a fan, and was screaming at the referees the whole game. My brother happened to be sitting nearby, and he told me about it. And Scott and I had an argument because he said, well, I was just there as a fan. And I said, where were you sitting? And he said, well, behind the Maryland bench. I said, how'd you get the ticket? He said, well, Gary got them for me. And I said, well, that's all fine. But if you didn't work for ESPN, Gary Williams wouldn't be giving you those tickets. And so you have a certain responsibility as a public figure, which clearly Scott is, to not behave that way. I've gone to lots of games where I wasn't, I go to Met games all the time, or I did. And I'm enjoying this run a lot. But
right. Yeah.
But when I go to Met games, I don't stand up and scream. I watch the game because I think I have a certain responsibility as a public figure. So this was kind of fun because I was able to be the reporter that I've been for all these years, but also, I kind of exercise my Duke grad muscles a little bit, which I hadn't done in the past.
It's interesting you bring that up, and I certainly have some more questions about the book. But, obviously, I have the good fortune of broadcasting ECU games and having graduated from East Carolina. So, I mean, there's a little bit of I root for him, obviously.
Sure.
But I try not to let that go through when I'm doing something on the air.
Right.
Especially if it's something that's a neutral set broadcast like an ESPN Plus or something like that. Doesn't mean that I'm perfect, but, and there's other teams I root for when I broadcast their games. I try not to, and so it's a mindset thing. But, boy, we've gotten away from that, haven't we? Maybe I'm old school like you, John, but we've gotten so far away from that. And it's almost like it's expected. It's part of the shtick now that you have to be the fanboy or girl on the air.
Yeah. Well, living in Washington, I watch the Nationals quite a bit. And Bob Carpenter is one of the nicest humans you'll ever meet. But every time he opens his mouth and talks about our ball club, our guys, we need a run, this is a moment we need a hit.
Right.
I flinch. I really do. And Bob's not the only one by any means. Bram Weinstein, who does the Commanders on radio, who I think is very talented, but ever since he became their play-by-play guy, when he does his daily radio show, it's we this, we that, we need this. And it makes me nuts because I think it's unprofessional. And I know some fans like it. They want their broadcasters to be homers. And again, you can be a homer. You know, I did Navy for 14 years on the radio, as you know, and as the color guy, and I wanted Navy to win. You know, I knew the players, I knew the coaches, I knew the school, but you never heard me say we during a broadcast. That I probably at times, you know, saw things through Navy eyes.
Right.
But there's a line. I think that's the point. There's a line, and I think even if you read this book, which is being published by Duke University Press, I don't go over the line. I mean, the book is about Duke. I interviewed Duke players from the 5 championship teams, but at no point, you know, some people might see bias in the book, and there is bias in the book, I'm sure, but it's not over the line, I don't think.
John Feinstein, best-selling authors with us. 5 banners inside the Duke basketball dynasty, and it is out by Duke University Press and available Amazon, John's website, through Duke, wherever books are sold. I'm sure you can find it. Hey, let me ask you a little bit about when putting this book together, because I mean there are, you know, maybe was there a story, because you know all the stories of those 5 championships pretty well. Was there a story you didn't know that came out in an interview that really was like, ooh?
There were quite a few, because
okay.
I went back to the key players on the 5 teams. And the younger ones in particular, 2010, 2015, I didn't know that well, because I wasn't I wasn't covering as much college basketball in those years as I had in the earlier years, 91, 92, and 01. And so through Mike, I was able to track down just about everyone that I wanted to talk to. And they were all terrific, you know, really cooperative and, you know, honest, funny guys. Marshall Plumlee, for example, is at Harvard Business School.
Oh, wow.
You don't picture basketball players being at Harvard Business School. And Grant Hill, who I have known for years. I've known Grant since he was in high school in Washington. Told a lot of funny stories, particularly about Christian Laettner and Bobby Hurley and how they fought all the time. And Christian was very intense about trying to make his teammates better. And he knew how talented Bobby was. And he got on him all the time. And there's a great story about after they won the 2nd championship in '92, when they were invited to the White House, Krzyzewski asked if they could go to the Pentagon, make it more of a learning experience, since they'd been to the White House once. And they were taken to the Pentagon, and they were actually in the room where, you know, the famous red button was, that if something happened and they had to go to war, that was the room where it would start. And this general is standing in front of the room, and he's explaining to the players. And from the back of the room, everybody hears, "Shut up. No, you shut up. You shut up." And it's Hurley and Laettner screaming at each other because Laettner was pushing Hurley's buttons. And Hurley just had enough and didn't really care where they were.
That's a funny story, actually. It's an interesting story.
Well, it is, yeah. Bobby said, "I know it happened, but I blocked it out. I don't remember it that well." Christian remembered it.
Yeah. The championship in 2000 was interesting because the players you mentioned in 2001. The players you mentioned in the early 90s were part of back-to-back championships, which in itself is only happened, you know, 3 times in the last 30 some odd years. So with that 2000 team, it seems like that we've talked about the area where you are up in the DMV. Maryland is also a central figure in that season and kind of in that championship run. So What do the players that you talk to about that particular 01 championship remember about the Maryland being kind of a starting off point?
Yeah, well, they played 4 times that year. They played in College Park, and Maryland had a 10-point lead with a minute to go, and Jason Williams made a couple key steals. And the Maryland people, of course, Maryland never loses a game. And Gary Williams is a good friend of mine. But according to their fans and media that covers them, they never lose a game. The refs steal it. It's always the refs. And Duke people call that the miracle minute. Maryland people talk, and many fans threw stuff on the court at the end of the game after Duke won in overtime, that the game was stolen. And so Duke wins that game. Then Maryland comes to Duke, and Carlos Boozer gets hurt during the game. And Maryland on senior night beats Duke. And that was a turning point in Duke's season because Carlos Boozer got hurt and went out of the lineup for about a month. And Krzyzewski, from Wednesday night to Sunday afternoon, completely changed Duke's offense. I mean, in effect, he used analytics before there were analytics. He looked at his team. He said, I got no real center who can score. The backup center was Casey Sanders, who averaged 2 points a game. I got 4 guys who can shoot. So why not set up an offense designed to get 3-point shots? And they did that against Carolina that Sunday and blew them out. When people like me were saying Duke's season was over, because I thought it was. And they beat Carolina, and then they played Maryland again in the ACC tournament, had a big lead, blew it. Maryland caught them. And then Nate James, who was sort of an unseen MVP coming off the bench as a senior, hit a tip-in with a couple seconds left to go, and then Juan Dixon got off a shot from near midcourt that almost went in. And Maryland would have won if it had gone in because Duke was up 2. So they went on, beat Carolina again the next day, and then both made the Final Four. And it was the first time Maryland had ever made the Final Four. With all those great Lefty Driesell teams went to the Elite Eight, but never the Final Four. And they played again in Minneapolis in the Final Four. With 5 minutes and 17 seconds left in the first half, Maryland was leading 39-17. And the Maryland fans literally were dancing in the aisles. They were so happy with that lead. And I was sitting with George Solomon, who's the sports editor of the Post at the time. And I turned to him, and I rarely say anything like this, but I said, see all those people there dancing? And he said, yeah. I said, in about an hour and a half, they're going to be so pissed off they won't be able to see. And George said, what are you talking about? I said, Duke's going to win this game. And Krzyzewski called a timeout, and very calmly, it wasn't one of those slam the clipboard timeouts, said, fellas, if we lose by 50, that's fine, but let's be ourselves. And he made 2 key adjustments. He put Chris Duhon on the point and took Jason Williams off the point so he could get better shots. And he put Nate James, who was 6'5", on Juan Dixon, who was 6'1". Juan Dixon had 16 points at that point. He scored 2 more the rest of the game. So slowly they turned it around. They got the lead down to 11 by halftime and actually took the lead with 7 minutes to go and ended up winning by 11. And again, the Maryland fans will still tell you that was the referee.
Yeah.
33-point turnaround. But they won that game and then went on Monday night, beat Arizona and won the national championship. But you're right. Maryland was very much a part of that season in ways that mostly frustrated Maryland people.
Yeah. Best-selling author John Feinstein with this the book 5 Banners Inside the Duke Basketball Dynasty. I want to ask you about Navy football. You mentioned you've been a part of those broadcasts years ago. You were a decade and a half involved. And then Army, that's East Carolina's next opponent after the open week.
Right.
Both off to sort of unprecedented in modern times starts to the season. You got to go back well before even your time, John. The last time they were both 5-0 to start a season. Yeah. And I think Army was in the in the 90s, the last time they individually started this well. So,
Yes, that's
you know,
exactly
this
right. They
this has
started
been
9-0.
yeah, this has been a minute since this is the kind of success. In the day and age we're in, is there something to be said about, I don't know, a group that has been together, that you don't have people transferring in or transferring out? There's no NIL
Right.
involved. Is there something to be said about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I think it's terrific. I'm a fan of both Army and Navy. I wrote the book Civil War way back in 1995, and my son, when he was very young, would say to me, "Dad, when Army plays Navy, who do we root for?" And I said, "Whomever's behind." And for a long time, that was Army for 14 straight years. But
Yeah.
they've won 6 of the last 8 Army Navy games. Now they turn that around, and it's quarterback is always the key position. I think for any team, but particularly for Army and Navy, running different versions of the option offense. And Navy's last good year was 2019 when they went 11-2, and they had a great quarterback. And now they've had mediocre, to be kind, quarterbacks the last 4 seasons, and now they've got a terrific quarterback in Blake Horvath. And Army also has a very good quarterback this season. And when the quarterbacks make the offense move the ball and keep the offense on the field, keep the defense off the field, that's when Army and Navy are good. And the schedule has certainly helped Army. Moving into the league, and they don't have to play Memphis, they don't have to play Tulane. Navy has already beaten Memphis and still has to play Tulane, so they have a much more difficult schedule. But both teams have won in dominant fashion, really, in every game except for the Navy-Memphis game, which went down to the end.
John, what projects are you working on right now?
Funny you should ask. I have a book coming out in a month, November 12th, on Ivy League football, which I researched last season. I did one of my access things where I spent time with players on all 8 teams, which was great fun because, Ivy League kids are smart and understand what someone like me would be doing. They were very open and willing. I interviewed 82 players from the 8 schools. And I can honestly say, Patrick, I didn't have a bad interview. They were all good. And so I had a lot of fun and stumbled into an amazing story, a tragic story. Dartmouth's longtime coach, Buddy Stevens, who was a Dartmouth grad and had been there for 18 seasons, was on vacation in Florida, and he and his wife were riding bicycles home from dinner, and Buddy was run over by an F-150 truck and suffered injuries that ultimately were fatal. He didn't die then, but he lost a leg and was paralyzed from the waist down, and 6 months later he passed away. And Sammy McCorkle, who had been his assistant since he got back to Dartmouth in 2005, took over as the interim coach and somehow held the team together and was named permanent coach midway through the season. And Dartmouth won their last 3 games, including a game against Princeton on a Friday night in which they kicked the winning field goal with a minute to go, and tied for the Ivy League title. It was a remarkable story, a remarkable group of young men. Great job by the coaching staff. And Buddy Stevens is in college football way beyond, excuse me, his record at Dartmouth, because he was the first coach who came to the conclusion that one of the ways to try to avoid head injuries, which of course have become very important in the last few years, was to not hit so much in practice. And scientists at Dartmouth developed a robot that allows you to make correctly, not hit with your head, not hit the other player with his head. and they've now spread to both college and pros. He was part of when he was coaching in Tulane, he was part of the founding of the now famous Manning passing camp, very close to both Manning brothers and to Archie. And when he passed away, it was a huge thing in college football. And in fact, last weekend, they named the stadium at Dartmouth for Buddy Stevens, and one of the people who attended the ceremony was Roger Goodell. Again, because Buddy was significant so beyond Dartmouth. And I knew Buddy for years. You never meet a better guy. And his assistants told stories about the fact that when it snowed, the first guy out on the practice field to get the snow off the field for practice that day was Buddy. You know, they would follow his example. And so that became a big part of the book. I never imagined. I first came up with the idea in February of 2023 and I talked at length on the phone about the project with Buddy. And I still have a text he sent me about how thrilled he was that I was doing the book, and he and his coaches would do anything they could to help me. And then a month later, the accident happened.
Wow. Well, that book is coming out next month. Maybe we'll get you on to talk about that. Would love to. This book is going to be released on the 15th. Duke basketball's 5 banners inside the Duke basketball dynasty. So it's going to be released very, very soon. John, great to talk to you as always. And we will look forward to catching up with you down the road.
Thanks, Patrick. Always good to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
John Feinstein, what a gem of a guy. I've always enjoyed John. Been a big fan of his work, but also listening to him in these settings. So it's really cool for me to get a chance to interview him. When I was a young guy growing up, Pilk, I'd hear him on sports radio on our old station, 98.3 in Greenville. He'd be on the One-on-One Sports Network on the weekends, and I'd listen to him appear on there and talk things. And so it's really cool to have gotten to know John over the last few years. This book, too, I think is going to be fascinating on Duke basketball. I think that's going to be a great book. And, again, it's out October 15th. So we'll see. Hopefully, I couldn't wriggle a book being sent to us, Pilk, or I'd have let you and Coach use it and read through it. So, but I think it'll be a fantastic book.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check it out. You know, I'm excited to obviously learn more about the 3 teams, the first 2 that I wasn't alive for, the one that I was only 2 years old for. And then, you know, like he even said, there were some things that he didn't know about all 5 teams. So I learned some things about the 2010 team and the 2015. Obviously, I was there for the ride and watched every game, but knowing those ins and outs will be really cool to learn.
All right, a full day for you, Pilk. We started this morning on Talk of the Town. We wind up with the PJ show and the Logan Zone coming up.
Yeah, man, I still got 2 hours left. It's been a long day, but I got 2 hours to go.
No rest for the weary, Pilk. No rest for the weary. Tomorrow, we'll be back not only in the morning on Talk of the Town with Benny Hardy and more of our John Feinstein interview, but we're also going to be back here at 5 o'clock tomorrow to get you to the bi-weekend edition of the Patrick Johnson Show. We'll have Coach Logan and Adam Gold from the Adam Gold Show. As we'll talk some hockey and ECU basketball. They had their media day today. We'll bring you some of the sounds from that. You can check out the sites on our social media. All right, stay tuned. The Logan Zone is coming right up. We're taking a timeout. See you in the morning on the TOT and catch up with you tomorrow. PJ show at 5 o'clock.